Trump's support for Amendment 3 was a significant shift as he publicly announced his intention to vote yes on the measure. This endorsement was seen as a game changer, given Trump's influence among Florida voters and the broader political base.
They realize is to take cannabis at an illicit market and put it into a regulatory market. Trump administration is looking at opportunities with tariffs and reducing taxes. $50 billion in taxes.
The Trump administration has announced support for states' rights to legalize cannabis. This move aligns with the administration's broader policy of giving states more control over their own cannabis laws.
The cannabis world has high hopes for the second Trump presidency.
So will President Trump and the Trump administration be good or bad for the community and the industry? In today's episode, we're going to have a look at a few sources to figure out a few of the pros and perhaps the cons as to what we can expect in the future. So let's take it over to CNBC, where Tilray CEO Irwin Simon was actually talking about this very issue.
Tilray CEO Irwin Simon. Happy New Year, Irwin. Welcome.
Happy New Year, Sarah. Thank you.
So what do you expect this year in terms of cannabis regulation?
So, if I sit back here 4 years ago, if you had me on and where cannabis would be, I thought we'd be much farther ahead. And that's why, with insight and looking into a crystal ball, what Tilray today, Tilray Brands, it's on a run rate to be $1 billion in size. Cannabis today is only a third of our sales. But with that, we're, the largest cannabis company in Canada in sales. We're one of the largest medical cannabis company in sales in Europe. We sell no cannabis in the U.S. And today we have a good-sized beverage business in the U.S. in beer, spirits, and other beverages. So we're set, really to grow even if something didn't change with cannabis. But Sarah, step back for a second. In Canada today, where cannabis is legal from a recreational and a medical standpoint, there's over $1 billion that comes in excise tax. It's a $5 billion business at retail. So take Canada and multiply it by 10, it's a $50 billion business here in the U.S. and probably a $10 billion in excise tax, from that standpoint. And it just takes a lot out of the equation in regards to the questions with cannabis. So I think it's something that the Trump administration will absolutely look at from a business standpoint, and a whole confusion on cannabis and what cannabis should be from a legalization, from a rescheduling, and from a safe bank. But, you were talking about Uber before. Look how long it took for an Uber to become, profitable. Look how long it took for a Tesla. Tilray is today. We're approaching that $1 billion mark with a strong balance sheet with over 40 brands, and we're a diversified company. Just think what happens with, Tilray. If legalization does happen with cannabis in the U.S., we're ready.
So as you guys can see from that, a lot of these CEOs of these massive corporations and companies, they think that legalization is heading in the right direction. Now, aside from some of these big kind of corporations simply making a lot more profit if things do become federally legal, there are a lot of other benefits. Let's hop into this Forbes video, which actually breaks some of those down. Now, just a quick reminder, guys, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And if you want to support us further, hit the link in the description down below, grab some merch, or join the ICANN VIP Bean Club.
While 38 states have some form of legal marijuana sales, in a market that's estimated to be $30 billion annually, cannabis is still illegal federally. This means plant-touching companies fall under a punitive tax code meant for illicit drug traffickers that eats into profitability. Despite the seeming ubiquity of dispensaries and Americans smoking, eating, and drinking products infused with THC, unlicensed cannabis sales are still rampant, and legal intoxicating hemp products are sold everywhere. And while the Biden administration began the historic move to reschedule marijuana under the Controlled Substances Act to a less severe category, that process has hit political and bureaucratic roadblocks. A look at Trump's first term in the White House does not exactly paint him as a friend of the industry. Within the first month of his presidency in 2017, the Trump administration put the recreational marijuana industry on notice, threatening, quote, greater enforcement of federal law. Then U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions rescinded the Obama-era policies that allowed the recreational pot industry to flourish, sparking fear and paranoia across the industry. But eventually, Trump, who like Biden does not drink alcohol, left the state-licensed marijuana trade alone. Since leaving office, however, his stance has evolved. On the campaign trail, Trump voiced his support for rescheduling, passing bank reform, and reiterated his belief in a states' rights approach to legalization.
That is a massive point right there, guys. Passing some of that banking reform, because currently a lot of cannabis businesses actually struggle to get any support from banks when it comes to financing or simply just opening an account and conducting transactions. So that'll be a big step in the right direction. And we all know rescheduling is something that's been on the cards for quite some time now, but personally I think that the answer is actually to deschedule rather than reschedule, and we've actually got a lot of videos talking about the fares when it comes to rescheduling and some of the issues that can pose, particularly for actual consumers.
As a Palm Beach resident, he also expressed his support for Florida's Amendment 3, which would have legalized recreational cannabis in the state, though the measure failed to reach the 60% threshold required for passage.
Now, I did hear a lot of people actually voice concerns over that Amendment 3 and the fact that it'll put the plant into the hands of Big Pharma, and the fact that there is potential to monopolize the plant, put power in the hands of a select few powerful cannabis companies, but also the fact that it did not allow home grows. So there are a lot of reasons why I think Amendment 3 did not pass.
The evolution of Trump's position is why Boris Jordan, the billionaire CEO and chairman of Connecticut-based Curaleaf, a vertically integrated cannabis company with 152 dispensaries across 19 states, says he sees a bright side to a second Trump presidency. Jordan tells Forbes, quote, "I am cautiously optimistic. The one thing that I know about Trump is that if he makes a commitment to do something, he, at a minimum, tries to do it. He doesn't always succeed in doing it, but at least tries." Jordan says that because Trump, quote, "committed to cannabis reform while campaigning this year and is, quote, on record with his views, a second Trump term will likely be good for the industry." Jordan may also be one of the few Americans who is, quote, disappointed that former Representative Matt Gaetz, who was pro-cannabis but was dogged by allegations of sexual misconduct, withdrew his nomination for U.S. Attorney General. Jordan says, quote, "That's a big loss for us. I think we would have gotten even more than we wanted and even faster if he became the Attorney General." After Gaetz withdrew his nomination, Trump nominated Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida, to lead the Justice Department. During her tenure as Florida Attorney General, Bondi opposed the legalization of medical marijuana. The Sunshine State is now the country's largest medical cannabis market, with more than $2 billion in annual sales. While Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been nominated for Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and is known for supporting legalization, Trump nominated Marty Makary, a surgeon and author, to lead the FDA. Makary has warned that marijuana is a gateway drug and not as safe as people think. But Jordan believes that, quote, "as long as it's a person who is going to do what Trump tells them to do, I think we should be in good shape." The legendary litigator David Boies, who is preparing to argue his case seeking to federally legalize state-licensed marijuana in court in early December, shares Jordan's optimism that a second Trump term will bode well for the cannabis industry. Boies says, quote, "We are much more likely to see positive change. Trump's default is to let the states have it. His inclination is to let people do what they want." For full coverage, check out Will Yakowitz's piece on Forbes.com.
Now, those are a lot of interesting points there, guys, and depending on where you stand on this issue, you may see some benefit or you may see some negatives. Now, if you're a home grower, you would remember back in 2018 when President Trump passed the Farm Bill, and that allowed for a lot of people to actually be able to access seeds, genetics, and beans, and also recognize CBD while distinguishing the hemp plant. So it does seem that there can be some positives when it comes to legalization under this administration, but I guess we'll just have to wait to find out. But let me know what you guys think about that. Drop it in the comments down below because I'm interested to find out what you guys think when it comes to this issue. And there was actually a crazy situation which popped up recently where a councilman was found with a 4-gram blunt in an illegal state. It's absolutely crazy. But if you want to find out more about that, check that video out because it's coming up right now.